Hello everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. The Delayed Prestigious Event. This story dates a couple years back and is set in Germany. Obviously the names have been changed to not bully anyone. Also, this is a secondary account so it won't come back to haunt me. The protagonists: me, IT worker in a medium-sized company; Lars, my direct boss, not a IT person but a great guy all around, manages technical backend; Karen from HR, a stickler to the rules and a true bureaucrat at heart; Laura, event organizer, tasked to make this event go as smoothly as possible; Michael, COO of the company, only met him while this happened, usually in the head office. The environment. This story is set inside a medium-sized company in Germany. We are not a technical company but have many international customers. I am responsible for the in-house IT services at a small town site with the site manager Lars being my direct boss. This site only has a secretary and HR is managed by the central head office. As I work in IT, working time is usually handled leniently. You can work on any workday between 7 AM to 8 PM, just not more than 12 hours a day, and have to get your 40 hours in every week, with some overflow allowed. But you are not allowed to work outside these hours or on weekends unless you get written permits from a central HR board. The first incident. You all know that when something happens in IT, you sometimes have to react. So the day comes and I get the call on a weekend that a important system has gone down. I realize that it is no big deal, so I cancel my plans and go in on a Saturday evening. Nothing fancy planned. The whole problem is rather easy to fix. I switch to the reserve server, load config files, reload the backups, and everything is back up and running in 2 hours. The following week I have to do it all again because the spare hardware used in a pinch was not powerful enough. The fallout. So during the next week, the crap really starts to hit the fan. First, I get some bull from the supply office for using the spare server. It is supposed to be always in reserve if a core system goes down. What just happened on the weekend? And the person using it has to immediately order a replacement. I told them that couldn't do it because none of these guys were there when it was urgently needed. And the replacement order was with them on Monday. We talk a bit of workshop and he laughs it off, telling me he had to remark it because of official guidelines and to be more careful next time. Next is HR. I got the notice from a Karen that the Saturday repair was not covered by any written permit that I should have gotten at least a week ahead of time. She doesn't understand a thing about IT but tells me that I always need to have a written permit or it will have direct consequences. I will not get paid for that time and I am even getting pointed for being in when I am not allowed to. It even goes so far that if this happens again, my contract is in danger. I get this all in writing. Important later. From now on, I always check my times there, but luckily the next 3 months, no important system goes down at the weekend. The setup. Our company is hosting a big event at a nice local location. A week long. From 8 AM Monday till Friday, international meeting with 90% external guests and a lot of prestige. There is a small team and company setup and managed by the event organizer Laura. I am informed by my boss Lars that I need to set up IT. We go to the location and find out that there is only a closed network available, so we have to provide our own IT. I order the necessary access points to provide Wi-Fi network, a decent projector, etc. Nice to work with a great budget. It all arrives 2 weeks before the conference. In the week before the conference, I start setting up. Monday, I configure the access points and make sure all the hardware is fully operational. Tuesday, I arrive on the event location and find it occupied. Asking my event liaison, I find out the location is booked only for the following week. So I spend half a day tracking down the person responsible for the venue and get told it is booked till Friday midday. I go to my boss Lars and tell him that I can't set up because it is occupied. He is furious about this oversight, but accepts that it is not my business to make sure the venue is booked correctly. The whole matter is escalated, and by the end of the day, we get the permit to start setting up on Friday afternoon. Wednesday comes and I tell my boss Lars that half a day won't be enough to set up projector, recording and streaming, sign-in station, and Wi-Fi. I told him that I expected it to be 4 days of work, but that I am willing to work through the weekend to get at least all the important stuff done till Monday. He agrees and I filed for special permit to work overtime or on the weekend. He even attaches a note on how important this is and it is rushed to HR. I spend the rest of the day going through the network planning, going home a bit early knowing that the next days will be stressful. Thursday, I start to prep as good as I can, configure every firmware, do a dry run of the setup on my desk, make sure all the cables are available and boxed up in a nice set for each task. This at least should be saving a bit of time when setting up. Friday morning, I still haven't received my written permit from HR yet, so I decided to give him a call. After a while, I get a hold of the Karen responsible for my file there and she informs me that my application for overtime arrived after this week's HR board meeting and thus couldn't be granted. Condescending, she informs me that I should have applied to at least a week earlier. I go to the event organizer Laura and tell her that I didn't get the permit for overtime and that I will have to leave everything this evening unfinished. I can see the color of her face changing from normal to white to red, and she promises to follow up. She will contact HR directly and clarify things. At 2 in the afternoon, the venue is finally available and I get started. Most reasonable is to get started with the projector and presentation system. Because without no presentations and thus no event. It takes me about 3 hours to set it up, running cables so they are not a hazard, etc. So the presenters can use either the system or a laptop and the picture is okay. Then Laura comes by and asks how I am doing. We chat a bit as I introduce the system. She tells me that Karen handling my application is not in this afternoon, so there is still no written permit. After we decide to run the main fiber line for internet next, she is of organized something for the breaks and catering. I run the fiber for the internet and at least confirm that it is active at 7 p.m. I catch Laura again and ask her about the permit. No one in HR was in all Friday afternoon, so it is still not there. The compliance and revenge. Here comes my malicious compliance and pro-revenge into place. I lock away all the valuable hardware as custom, and I'm ready to leave just before the 2000 deadline. Laura asks me what the next steps will be and when it will be ready, and I have to tell her. I will start again on Monday, but it won't be finished by 8 a.m. then when the event starts. She is speechless as I leave. During my weekend, I relax and turn my work phone off. I see a flood of work emails coming in. But hey, if I'm not allowed to work on weekends, I also don't need to check these. The event. Monday, 7 a.m., the earliest I am allowed to work again according to HR, I show up. It is pandemonium. IT still the same as I left it on Friday. A completely disarranged Laura asks me begging how long it takes to set up the signing station because the first guest will arrive in half an hour and need to be registered. I get to work setting it up as fast as I can, but it still takes nearly 9 a.m. till all the credentials are loaded and the digital sign-in can start. All the while, I hear mumbling that the Wi-Fi isn't working. No surprise, the access points are not installed at all. Not even the wires run. Laura cleverly organized a second breakfast for the waiting guests and excuses all the time for the technical difficulties. At 9 a.m., the event finally can start. There is still no Wi-Fi, there is no internet for the online presentations, and there is no streaming. I can't continue to set up since this would mean me running around with a ladder during the introductory presentation. Shortly before the delayed 10:30 coffee break, Laura, Lars, and even the COO Michael come up to me and ask me what is the holdup. Michael is enraged that the state is embarrassing the whole company in front of all their international partners. No Wi-Fi for them and no streaming online for the overseas partners. I tell him that Karen explicitly forbid me to work on weekends without the written permit and even showed the write-up from earlier. See the fallout. Giving up, he just asks what I need to get it all done as fast as possible. I even get a small note just saying, Mr. OP is permitted to work as much overtime as needed and is permitted to acquire all resources he deems necessary. Signed, Michael, COO, and co-signed by the head of HR. The solution. We end up hiring some Sparkies, electricians, to run the cables, and I work all night till nearly the next morning to get it all operational by the second day. The rest of the event was a full success and everyone was happy with the IT besides the first day. As the cherry on top, Karen is no longer my HR manager. I also have the direct phone number, even private mobile, to the local head of HR and can request overtime in a non-written form at any time. Sometimes it pays off to play exactly by the rules, even if it makes no sense. So if you're in OP's shoes here, the deadline's coming up, and you know you don't have that HR clearance, what are you gonna do? Let me know your course of action in the comments below. You don't need my help? Fine by me. So about 2 months ago, my neighbor moved out. Now we weren't hangout level friends, but we were cordial with each other. We had an agreement that if the other wasn't home when a package came, we'd go grab it and just give it to each other when they got home, as my neighborhood is littered with porch pirates. So a month ago, new neighbor moves in. He has a package arrive. He's not home. I grab the package, figuring I'd try and make the same arrangement with him. An hour later or so, he pulls in his driveway and I come out to meet him with his package. I hand him the package and I give him the rundown about package thieves in the area. He loses his crap and tells me that, I don't need your freaking help, mind your own business, leave me the freak alone, and storms off into his house. Okay, cool. Fast forward to yesterday. I'm outside doing honeydews, flowers, yard, blah blah. Neighbor isn't home. Amazon guy comes and drops off a package on dude's doorstep. Cue malicious compliance. Not 5 minutes after the Amazon guy leaves, here comes a porch pirate, grabs the package, and just starts casually walking back to the sidewalk. Just as the thief makes the sidewalk, the douche pulls into his driveway. Thief takes off running. He gets out of his car and starts screaming at me. I told him, nah dude, I believe you told me you didn't need my help and to mind my own business, so that's what I did. Guy gets all ticked and runs into his house. You could hear him breaking crap. Hilarious. Edit, yeah, I can see your points about maybe I should have spoken to him first. I forgot to put in the post that when I did grab his delivery, that I had just chased a thief off. When I posted this, I had just gotten off a 16-hour shift at the prison I work at and was dead but tired. Edit, he knocked at my door late yesterday evening and apologized for acting the way he did. We shook hands. I do agree that it was wrong to take it without asking at all first. I'd probably be pretty upset if a neighbor out of the blue came over with a package of mine without saying anything to me first. But it sounds like hopefully they can work something out in the end, which is good. Driven to the competition and back again. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until I, the youngest of the brood, was old enough to go to school. Once I was enrolled, mom rejoined the workforce. As the years went by, her savings grew until she had enough cash on hand to buy her dream car. Before going to the dealership, she researched what a reasonable price was for the vehicle and the add-ons she wanted. Armed with this information, she went to the dealership. I'm guessing all the salesman saw was a woman who should have been barefoot, pregnant, and making my dad a sandwich. He insisted that the sticker price was fixed, and that she, as a woman, shouldn't try to haggle anyways because women don't know how to do that. When that didn't deter her, he started to mock her by saying she probably couldn't afford a new car. In retrospect, I think my mom's age, skin color, and immigration status explains why she didn't immediately give him the two-finger salute and leave. She and my dad spent their lifetimes fighting against racism and discrimination. To her, this was just another day. Finally, the salesman laughed in her face and said, "If you really do have the cash to buy a car, why don't you go to a competitor dealership? Maybe they'll haggle with you." The make and model at this dealership had been my mom's first choice. She had an equally good second choice that was a different make and model and was sold by the aforementioned competitor. A few days later, she drove into the lot in her new car from the competitor. She asked to speak with the salesman who insulted her, waved at her new luxury vehicle, and cheerfully said, "The commission could have been yours. I guess I was able to afford a new car after all." She said he still hadn't picked up his jaw as she drove off. Good on her, that's a great story, and I would be extremely proud of her if I was OP. Shoot, I'm extremely proud of her regardless. Forklift operation. As a store person at a major milling operation, 200 plus personnel, I drive a forklift around the site to deliver supplies to the various departments. Mine is a 2.5 ton tiny model, whereas the others on site, about 16 in total, range from 4 to 16 ton. Since they're so large compared to mine, and being aware that they get into a zone and don't notice my presence straight away, I always keep a safe distance and sound my horn if I can't to make them aware that I'm coming through. Last week, a supervisor complained that I wasn't announcing my presence over the radio. When I made inquiries about this to a more senior person, he told me that although it's a forklift operating in a forklift operating area, it's not a production forklift, and hence every time it moves throughout the mill, its presence is required to be announced over the radio. In spite of me pointing out that I drive the forklift a lot more than he realized, and that I would be taking up a lot of radio space, he stressed that that's the rule and I had to conform. Yesterday, I was told to stop calling up every time I drive the forklift. Turns out people are only aware of their own surroundings and have no idea that other people continue working once they're out of sight. Go figure. I imagine it would actually be kind of satisfying to give in and just try and annoy the crap out of people where you can. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today, so what I want to know is which of these stories is your personal favorite and why? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.